Have you ever pondered about the immense power that lies within focusing on yourself rather than others? The concept of self-focus is not a mere act of selfishness, but rather a profound tool to foster personal growth and development. It's about tuning into your own strengths and weaknesses, your desires and dreams. It's about understanding what makes you tick, what lifts you up, what pulls you down. When we begin to focus more on ourselves, we start to harness our potential and steer our lives towards our envisioned goals. We become architects of our own lives rather than mere bystanders. This shift of focus from external to internal is a catalyst, a trigger for a journey of transformation. As we delve deeper into our own selves, we create an environment for growth, for change, for evolution. We become the best version of ourselves. Now let's dive into a remarkable story of transformation that unfolded from the power of self-focus. Imagine a woman named Sarah, who lived her life constantly comparing herself to others around her. Her eyes were always on the accomplishments of her peers, her neighbors, even strangers on social media. She measured her worth by how she stacked up against them. If someone bought a new car, she felt the need to get a better one. If a colleague received a promotion, she felt she had failed. This constant comparison was a never-ending race, leading her to a state of perpetual dissatisfaction and unhappiness. Sarah was stuck in a cycle of comparison, a loop that was hard to escape. She was so focused on others that she began to lose sight of herself. Her dreams, her aspirations, her happiness, all had been overshadowed by this obsession. She was living a life that was not truly hers, but a reflection of others. One day, Sarah found herself in front of the mirror, staring at her reflection. She realized that she had lost herself in the pursuit of others. She decided then and there that it was time for a change. Sarah began to shift her focus from others to herself. She began to explore her own values, her own dreams, and her own aspirations. She started to set personal goals not based on what others were doing, but on what she wanted for herself. She began to pursue her own passions, her own interests. She started to live for herself. It was not an easy journey. It took courage to step out of the race, to stop comparing, to start focusing on herself. It took strength to face her fears, to embrace her uniqueness, to celebrate her own achievements. But Sarah was determined. She was ready to embark on this journey of transformation. As Sarah shifted her focus, she began to notice changes. She was no longer consumed by what others were doing. She was no longer driven by the fear of being left behind. She was no longer worried about how she measured up against others. Instead, she was focused on her own growth. She was driven by her own passion. She was motivated by her own success. She was happier, more fulfilled, more content. She was living a life that was truly hers. Sarah's professional life also started to thrive. She began to excel at her job, not because she was trying to outdo her colleagues, but because she was passionate about her work. She started to receive recognition, not because she was seeking approval, but because she was dedicated to her craft. She began to rise in her career, not because she was competing with others, but because she was committed to her own growth. Sarah's journey of transformation was not a quick one. It took time, it took patience, it took perseverance, but it was worth it. Sarah had discovered the power of self-focus. She had learned to live for herself, to strive for her own success, to celebrate her own achievements. Sarah's story is a testament to the power of self-focus. But how exactly did focusing on herself lead to such a transformation? When Sarah started focusing on herself, she began to discover her own strengths and weaknesses. And so begins the third chapter of our story today, the mechanism of change. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. Each layer represents a different aspect of ourselves, and only by peeling each one back can we truly understand who we are. When Sarah started to look inward, she found a world she'd never fully explored before. She discovered talents she didn't know she had, passions she'd never acknowledged, and most importantly, she unveiled weaknesses she'd been unconsciously hiding. This self-discovery wasn't easy, nor was it immediate. It was a process, a journey, and at times it was uncomfortable. But it was real and it was hers. Sarah's journey of self-discovery was the first step towards her self-improvement. Understanding her strengths gave her confidence, while recognizing her weaknesses gave her direction. She was no longer aimlessly wandering, but purposefully striving. She knew where she wanted to go and what she needed to work on to get there. And so, Sarah began setting her own goals and standards. She stopped comparing herself to others, stopped measuring her success by someone else's yardstick. Instead, she created her own measures of success. This was her second step, the step of self-definition. By defining her own success, she was no longer bound by the expectations or judgments of others. She was free to grow, to evolve, to become the person she wanted to be. This newfound freedom sparked a transformation. Sarah began to grow, both personally and professionally. She developed new skills, nurtured her passions, and worked on her weaknesses. She became more assertive, more resilient, and more adaptable. She was no longer just surviving, she was thriving. And the most beautiful part of this transformation, it was all her own. Every step she took, every goal she achieved, every hurdle she overcame was a testament to her strength, her determination, her resilience. It was a testament to her focus on herself. But let's be clear, this transformation was not easy. It required hard work, perseverance, and above all, courage. The courage to face her weaknesses, to challenge her limits, to step out of her comfort zone, the courage to change. Sarah's journey is a testament to the power of self-focus. It teaches us that by focusing on ourselves, by delving into our own depths, we can discover our true potential. It teaches us that by setting our own goals and standards, we can define our own success. And it teaches us that by embracing change, we can transform into the person we want to be. Sarah's transformation was not a stroke of luck, but a result of her conscious decision to focus on herself. It's a reminder that we too have the power to change, to grow, to evolve. All we need to do is focus on ourselves. And that, dear friends, is the mechanism of change. Sarah's story is not unique. Many of us, like Sarah, may find ourselves trapped in the comparison game. It's a game that we play every day, often without even realizing it. We compare our lives, our successes, our failures to those of others, and we measure our worth based on these comparisons. But as we've seen, this game is a losing one. It diverts our focus away from the only person we can truly change, ourselves. Throughout this discussion, we've explored the power of self-focus and the transformative journey it can set us on. We've learned that the key to personal growth and satisfaction lies not in striving to be better than others, but in striving to be better than we were yesterday. It's about recognizing our own worth, acknowledging our own potential, and harnessing it to create a life that we're proud of. The mechanism of change is not an external one. It's not about changing others or changing the world around us. It's about changing ourselves, about shifting our focus inward. It's about understanding that we have the power to shape our own lives, and that our worth is not determined by how we stack up against others, but by how much we've grown. So how do we break free from this comparison game? How do we start focusing on ourselves? It starts with a simple decision, a decision to stop comparing, to stop measuring our worth against others. Instead, we choose to measure it against our own potential, against our own progress. We choose to celebrate our victories, no matter how small, and learn from our failures, no matter how big. This is the takeaway. This is the lesson we can learn from Sarah's story. The journey of transformation begins with a shift in focus, with a decision to prioritize ourselves, to prioritize our growth. It's a journey that's not always easy, but it's one that's always worth it. Remember, the only person you should try to be better than is the person you were yesterday. So start focusing on yourself and see the transformation unfold.